Everyone. Just nice to be with all of you again. Thank you for the invitation to return. Especially nice just to greet each one of you as a mighty soul. Just to remind you, in case you forgot, that you're in the image and likeness of God. You are what the divine is doing. You're here with purpose. You have lovely gifts of creativity, goodness to share to the world, and to know that all of us are together really as a unity of souls, really advancing the consciousness of our material planes. How about that? Just a couple of things before I begin the talk today. First of all, I want to again thank your greeters and your worship team for creating such a nice atmosphere of worship for all of us. And, you know, let's give them a nice round of applause, don't you think? Honestly, that's pretty good. Particularly also in that first song, God Are You, it reminded me of the oneness of everything that is. And I had a book within my briefcase I've been reading lately, and if you've not heard of it and would like a good read, it's called Dying to Be Me by Anita Moorjani. It's a near-death experience book that's quite interesting, it's quite good, well presented. Dying to Be Me by Anita Moorjani. Just a very nice read about oneness, and it makes things sometimes not quite as apparent on the outside, quite apparent from within. I think you'd enjoy it. And just lastly, a word about the CDs. There are 6 CDs. 2 are for beginners in meditation, physical relaxation and meditation, and then focused breathing and meditation. For those a little bit further along the path, the ones on rhythmic breathing and the breath of God, I would highly recommend. And there's one on manifesting, if you want to know how to manifest and to do it. I think you'd enjoy the CD. And the last one is 10 Steps to Daily Enlightened Living, which is self-explanatory. Let's begin with the talk today. In one sense, I think I'm pretty much on target with the talk today because I'm going to talk about a movie. And with the Academy Awards tonight, I think we're pretty timely. On another sense, I'm not quite so timely because the movie I want to talk about occurred, I think, 2 or 3 years ago. It took me that long to finally see the movie, so just kind of an important thing. But the movie that I'd like to really address this morning is the movie Lincoln. When the movie first came out, I really wanted to see the movie. It just really kind of struck me in some way. That being kind of busy and so on, I don't always get to movies. But over the Christmas holidays, I was finally able to see the movie. And in fact, the movie moved me so much in so many different ways that I felt it was important to make the movie the topic of a lesson, a teaching. And that's the teaching I'd like to share with you today, entitled The Emancipation Proclamation. There were 4 particular ideas in the movie that really got my attention, that can also be applied to and are very constructive for those of us who are moving to an enlightened consciousness. The first lesson I would suggest is best presented in the following statement. There is nothing so powerful. There is nothing so powerful as an idea whose time has come. In the movie, of course, the idea whose time had come to the United States was the relinquishment of slavery and the freedom and equality of all people. What becomes important for those of us in self-realization is that such ideas whose times have come, it's important for us to realize they do not fall down as leaflets from heaven, but rather ideas whose times have come are articulated by men and women who have come to realize these ideas and are now willing to be the voices of their truth. Men and women like you and I who understand certain ideas and who want to be the voices of truth. Usually, when these new ideas come, they come to certain individuals who must continually and consistently articulate these ideas, especially when these ideas are quite new and are resisted by so many people of the time. Lincoln exemplified this challenge. He had to continually and consistently articulate the idea of racial equality to a country that was in a civil war over that very issue. The teaching for us in the Enlightenment movement is quite clear. We too see an idea whose time has come, namely the evolution of consciousness, the shift in identity of seeing ourselves simply as a limited human to truly realizing that we are eternal souls, that each one of us is gifted with a certain set of beautiful qualities and a purpose here on the planet to evolve not only ourselves, but also our species and the planet itself. Like every movement, it's very important that we have the voices. We need spokespeople to be the instruments of the God Spirit in our society. And I just want to encourage you this morning to perhaps see yourself in that way, that you see yourself as a spokesperson of what you know to be true about being a full human instrument. Resistance can be quite strong, both from within ourselves, due to old behaviors of thinking and acting, as well as from people and situations in the world that carry so much of the individual and collective egoic energy. It's difficult to meet the resistance, and that's why it's important for us, therefore, to go into the second point. In the midst of the struggle of the Civil War, President Lincoln, by way of executive order, proclaimed the freedom of slaves in the 10 states that were still in rebellion. This statement, as you well know, was called the Emancipation Proclamation. Quite a bold move on the part of the president. There are two analogies, 2 points from the Emancipation Proclamation for those of us moving into enlightenment. The first one I suggest to you is this. The first thing is that if one is to be emancipated, if one is to be freed from the ego, then there must be an executive order for this to occur. For the individual, this executive order must come from your essential self. You must be willing to proclaim your intention to be free in spirit, mind, and body. We now have many people who are doing this. I invite you to do this. You can't fool yourself. You know when you're truly free, and you know when you're still self-centered. One of the greatest barometers I see in the world today are a group of people who are finally over themselves, who are finally able to move beyond their own set of interests and see themselves as something much bigger. But it takes that executive order for each one of us to say, I want to move beyond those things that limit me and move me into the fullest part of what I am. There are many people who, like you, feel that they are what God is doing. And they too proclaim the unity ideal wherever they are. God is, and all is well. It's a very beautiful thing. I want you to know that that's not just an ideal, but it's a reality that more and more is part of the evolution to which you are invited. The second part of the analogy is just as clear. Lincoln proclaimed the freedom of slaves in states that were in rebellion to the Union. How clear this analogy is for us, because as we proclaim our emancipation from the ego, all of our past and present rebellious energies quickly come up and challenge us to be enslaved again. The old rebellious behaviors, you know yours. Those old rebellious behaviors of outdated belief systems, food, sex, shopping, money, security. The old, outdated systems of emotional triggers tied to past failures. Many old ways of acting that no longer serve us. These are the rebellious states. These are the rebellious states within ourselves that stop the unity from within. The enlightened soul, just as the rebellious states during the Civil War threatened the unity of the country itself, understands that each one of us has to emancipate ourselves from those things so that we can move into the greater union of which we're a part. It's just so wonderful to realize that you're not leaving anything behind except the things that have caused you misery and suffering, and are now able to move to the full experience that each of us has been destined to fulfill. I invite you to do this. You're ready. You know it. However, the Emancipation Proclamation was not enough. As you know, as important as it was, it needed something more to bring its ideas into realization. That something more was the third lesson of the movie. Perhaps you recall it. While the Emancipation Proclamation was a bold, timely, and extremely important step, it was not binding on the entire nation and did not have the force of law behind it. It needed the 13th Amendment to finally enflesh it in our country's law code. Thus, almost 3 years after the Emancipation Proclamation of January 1st, 1963, in December of 1965, the 13th Amendment passed, finally, which made slavery finally illegal everywhere in the United States. The resistance that Lincoln faced came from so many people. The other political party, northern slave owners, his wife, his son, and the general mood of the country that was sick of the bloodshed of this long civil war had to be faced. To bring the majority of others to the 13th Amendment, to an idea whose time had come, that all people are truly, truly free, took incredible courage, strength, resolve, but also understanding and patience for President Lincoln and for those who championed the cause with him. The movie presented this enormous challenge so clearly and poignantly. It was not a time for weakness, doubt, confusion, and of course, fear. One had to be crystal clear. One had to be crystal clear of the importance of the issue to move forward, realizing that the issue was much more important than the instrument. The issue was much more important than the instrument. The application of this struggle to the passing of the 13th Amendment was immediately clear to me. I likened the passing of the 13th Amendment to leading others, not just in our own country, but in the world itself, to the evolution of consciousness that is now possible for us, to the evolution not only of ourselves, but also the evolution of our species, our planet, and the universe. This idea is an idea whose time has come. And in my opinion, this 13th Amendment, which called then for a conscious realization that everyone must be free, was really the crowning point of the Emancipation Proclamation. Applied to us, it's not enough that we simply emancipate ourselves from the things that are below our true self, but to amend ourselves to be the fullest expression of which we are capable of being. Emancipation from the ego is one thing. The amendment to higher living, to greater consciousness, is quite another. It takes courage to do this. You have to be strong, clear, and committed, and yet loving and understanding and patient to bring about the evolution of life as you really know it can be, and what you want to see as the evolution of humanity itself. To evolve ourselves, our species, the planet, and the universe. Oppositional forces must be faced, some from without, mostly from within. I invite you to amend your life where you have to amend it. Not just to emancipate it, but to amend it. It feels good to get rid of the junk. It's really fun to enjoy the gifts. Feels good to get rid of what no longer serves us. But it's the joy of moving into the fullness of what you are that is really the happiness and the spark. Well, there's more. As much as I enjoyed these first three ideas, they were all quite interesting. It was the fourth teaching from the movie that really moved me, that really made sense to me. The movie itself presented it very, very beautifully in this particular scene. A supporter of the president asked Mr. Lincoln, if the 13th Amendment passes, what is the country going to do with its 4 million slaves? Lincoln thought and responded. He said, do not allow the fears of the present to take away the possibilities of the future. Do not allow the fears of your present to take away the possibilities of your future. The possibilities of the future. I immediately thought of the possibilities of the future from 1865 to the present. These were some of the things that came to me. Voting rights for all people. Civil rights for all people. Military and marital rights for all people. And of course, a first black president. Additionally, the how of Reconstruction, of incorporating 4 million slaves into a free union, brought to mind the how of universal health care in America that we are now facing. But the real possibilities of the future, for me and you, are known only by you and me. You know your real possibilities. I just encourage you, don't allow your fears to stop you to manifest your future possibilities. These are some of the ones that I hold important. I would hope that we're able to use our energies so that we can move beyond illness, aging, and death. That we can be telepathic, clairaudient, clairvoyant. That we can look at everyone and acknowledge them as a sister or brother, and then deal with their behavior, as obnoxious as it might be at times. The evolution of ourself and our species into a higher energetic being that not only is inclusive of everyone, but embraces the planet and encourages each one of us to see our planet as part of a larger universe. The possibilities of the future are endless. The dagger of the future is fear. The beauty of the future are the possibilities of the goodness within you. I just encourage you, why wait? Why wait to live and be just the beauty of the moment that we are. In conclusion, it's a joy to kind of share the movie with you. A little late for the Academy Awards in one sense, but nevertheless, it's such an important thing to be able to understand the universal principles of equality and open creativity, which that movie exemplified, and which are the fundamental principles of life itself. I encourage you today to emancipate yourself from any of your old blockages. Amend your life into your joys, and particularly, don't allow those crazy little fears to stop the possibilities of your wonderful future. You are gifted with purpose. Gifted with purpose. May you free and amend and enjoy. Let me bring that into a brief meditation for you this morning. Let us begin first of all by setting our intention that we simply dedicate ourselves to this opportunity to extend our soul. Fully now commit yourself to this brief meditation. Let us prepare for the meditation by just taking that moment to relax the body-mind and bring our soul to the fore, using whatever method that enables you to do so, either focusing on your breath, reciting a mantra, or anything else that serves you. Move now into your I am consciousness. Just feel your life force as one with the universal life force. As you're sitting here just right now, when you say to yourself or feel to yourself the word I, that you realize it's the big you, that you're really part of the universal life itself. May you feel that as your true self. Let us proceed. I know you get it. You get it. That there are ideas whose times have come. Where are they? In you, as you recognize them to be. Within you as the self. Within you as part of a larger whole, a family, a community, a nation, a world, a planet. Whatever at this moment you feel is important, really is. It's your idea whose time has come. May you be confident of being a spokesperson to what you know is true. The universe has invited you to do so and eagerly awaits your response. Well, isn't that scary? Only to your ego. How can I be sure I can do it? Well, you were invited to do so. With the invitation always comes the empowerment. You're intelligent. You know this. With the invitation comes the empowerment. You're not a weak human. You're a mighty soul. And lastly, my favorite line from Lincoln was this: have faith that right makes might. Have faith that right makes might. Don't allow your fears to diminish you. Have faith that it was right for your possibilities are the future of life for you. Have faith that what you know to be right is powerful. I just ask now that you keep this meditative state in mind, either keeping your eyes closed or opening them, and just listen to the loving, beautiful song that our music ministry is providing for us today. Let it take you to the next step.